Okay, and welcome to 2-4, parallel or perpendicular through a point. Okay, here we are in example 1, and we want to find the equation of the line parallel, and guys, always circle that word parallel or perpendicular to y equals 2/3 x plus 3, passing through the point -2, -5. Alright, so what are we going to do to tackle this? Well, the first thing I want you to do is, if you have not done so already, I want you to write this equation, y equals 2/3 x plus 3. And below it, I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. Whenever we're talking about parallel, we're always talking about the slope or our m term. So basically, guys, what you have to do is you have to figure out what is the slope of the initially given line. In this case, we would say this. We're going to say m1 is equal to 2/3. Now, how do I want you to tackle this? I always want you to draw an arrow, and I always want you to rewrite the word that you're searching for. In this case, we are looking for the line that is parallel. So I'll write parallel, and then I'll say m2 because we have to use a second slope. We're going to say that our m2 value is going to be 2/3. Think back to our last video. Parallel slopes are the same. Okay. Now, let's go back, and now we're going to use our point slope form because look, we are given a point and we are given a slope, and so let's go ahead and use that. And by the way, I'm even going to write my point right here. My point is -2, 5. And I'll even switch up my colors just a little bit. We're going to call that x1, y1. Okay, now let's go ahead and write out our point slope formula. It's y minus y1 is equal to m parentheses x minus x1. And let's go ahead and plug in everything that we're going to plug in orange and write our equation in purple. So we have y minus, and I come over here, I know my y1 value is 5, and this, of course, is going to equal, and our m value is going to be this 2/3. Okay, switching back to this purple, x minus, and specifically in this case, our x1 value is -2. Alright, and now you can clearly see where did I plug in each and everything. Okay, now let's go ahead and do a quick little change here. We know that two negatives make a positive, and then from here, we're going to have to kind of do a little distribution. Okay, so let's do this. We have y minus 5 is equal to, and I do 2/3 times x, which is 2/3x, but now I have 2/3 times 2, and this kind of represents a problem. 2/3 times 2, well, that's really 2/1, and remember, we do top times top, so on the top we have 2 times 2, which is 4, over, and on the bottom 3 times 1, which is 3, and now we have this equation right here, y minus 5 equals 2/3 x plus 4/3. Now check this out. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to clean off this so we have a little bit more room to work because we're one step away. So pause the video, finish taking any notes that you need to, but now we have this. Y minus 5 is equal to 2/3 x plus 4/3, and our final step is to move this constant. So we'll add 5 to both sides. Sorry for my phone, guys. So now we have y equals, my apologies, let me turn this off. Geico's really going after me today. Y equals 2/3 x plus, and this is a little bit of a problem. We need to remember, how do we add fractions? Well, we do it like this. We say, okay, we have 4/3 plus 5, and we're going to change 5 into 5/1, so this part's kind of easy. Here's the key. We need these two numbers to be the exact same. And ask yourself right now, can you think of a number that I can multiply 1 by to make it into a 3? 1 times what number gets me to 3? Well, 1 times 3. And the rule is whatever I multiply the bottom by, I have to multiply the top by. So now I have 4/3 plus, remember our rule, top times top, 5 times 3 is 15, over the bottom times bottom, 1 times 3 is 3. And it turns out when you add a fraction, you only add what's on top. 4 plus 15 is 19/3. Okay, let's move on to our second example. Pause this and finish taking any notes as necessary. Okay, here is our second example, and it says find the equation of the line perpendicular. Okay guys, go ahead, circle that word perpendicular to the line graphed below and passing through the point 2, negative 5. Now I kind of cut this a little bit weird, so let me just rewrite that. 2, negative 5. Alright, and so well, wait a second. What was it that we had to pull from the last equation? Well, we had to pull the slope, okay, our m term. Alright, and I want y'all to recall that our slope is the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so what we'll do for the slope is I'll come here to my y-intercept, put my point, and then I'll travel across this line until I find my very next perfect point. And your perfect points are always going to be here where the vertical and horizontal lines meet. And notice this, I'm really going up 2, so I'm going up 2, that's positive 2, and I'm going to the right 1, that's positive 1. And so we could say our slope is 2 over 1. Now, how do we use this with our perpendicular? Well, we're going to say m1 is equal to 2 over 1. And remember, we're going to draw that arrow. We draw it every time. And I'm going to abbreviate perpendicular as perp. And what's our rule for a perpendicular slope? We take our fraction, we flip it, so 2 over 1 becomes 1 over 2. And since this was a positive, this has to be a negative. Oh, and by the way, guys, I should have labeled that m2. Now from here, I'm also going to write my point. My point is 2, negative 5. And from here, I'm going to use a different color this time. I'm going to use y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And we're going to plug in everything that we're going to plug in purple. So what's our formula look like? Well, it's like y minus, and switching into purple, I know that here's my x1 and my y1 value, so my y1 value has to be negative 5. And we're going to say, okay, well this equals, and remember guys, the slope that we're going to use is this m2, or this negative 1 over 2. We can't use the same slope because we're looking for the perpendicular line. I write x minus, and of course in this purple, I know that my x1 value is that 2. And now I have my equation, which I can begin to solve. One quick note, we know that two negatives make a positive, and so we have y plus 5 is equal to negative 1/2 times x is negative 1 over 2x. And guys, here's a really cool thing. When I do negative 1 over 2 times negative 2, first I know that a negative times a negative is a positive, and this is really 2 over 1. Well, check it out. 1 times 2 on the top is 2 over 2 times 1 on the bottom is 2. And wait a second, don't I know what 2 over 2 is? Well, that would actually be the same as saying 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now from here we are one step away. I'm simply going to subtract my 5 from both sides, and we'll get this final equation. We're going to get y is equal to negative 1 over 2x minus 4, and that will in fact be our correct answer. Alright guys, I know that these seem difficult at first, but let's go ahead and do one more example. Okay, for pre-AP geometry, this is the third and final way that you would see these problems. It says find the equation of the line perpendicular to the line negative 2x plus 4y is equal to 12. Now remember, anytime we're looking for a line that's perpendicular or parallel, we have to find the slope, or the letter m. And the only way we can do that is when the letter y is by itself. So take a look right here. If I want to get y by itself, well, I first start by moving my x term. The opposite of negative 2x is plus 2x. And we'll add 2x to both sides. So now I have 4y is equal to, and remember these cannot combine, so I can write 12 plus 2x. Now from here, in order to get rid of the y, or the y by itself, we have to get rid of the 4 by dividing each term by 4. And notice, I'm going to kind of shift this to the left, we have y equals 12 divided by 4, which is 3, plus, and look, 2 over 4, well both 2 and 4 can both be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, here is our equation. This is where we can pull our slope from. So let me go ahead and do that in a different color. We know that our slope is always this value in front of the x term, and that is our m1. Now, why is that so important? Because now once I have this slope, I can actually find the slope that is in fact perpendicular to it. So for a perpendicular slope, we take our 1 over 2, we flip it, it becomes 2 over 1, but remember 2 over 1 is the same as 2. Also, this is a positive, so this must become a negative. And remember guys, this is our m2, our second slope. Okay, well with this information right here, I know that m2 is equal to negative 2, and I know my point is going to be this negative 3 comma 4. Well, what's this going to look like? Okay, let me label this in nice gold, and I can label this x1, y1, and remember our formula is y minus y1 is equal to m parentheses x minus x1, and so we can write y minus, switching to this purple, we know our y1 value is 4, and this will of course equal our slope, which is negative 2, switching back to gold, x minus, and of course, just to finish this off, our x1 value is negative 3. Okay, now from here we know two negatives make a positive. And by the way guys, at this point you should be feeling very comfortable here. We have y minus 4 equals negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, and negative 2 times positive 3, which is going to be negative 6. And from here guys, how do you get rid of that minus 4? Well, we're going to add 4 to both sides. And we get this. Y is equal to negative 2x, and negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. Alright guys, I know that's a lot, but this is literally exactly how you're going to see it on like an ACP, and it does not get any harder than this. Alright, thank y'all, and I'll catch y'all in our next video.